about 2 months ago, I showed you the initial stages for my Astro planning tool, and it's time to give you a update as a lot of things has happened to it, and it's now a lot more user-friendly and I think a lot more accessible to a lot of people than it was before. Just to get you caught up, in the last video where I talked about my Astro planning tool, I was working on this tool that allowed you to basically put in a number of targets, your locations, a number of different observation criteria, and then it would spit out a calendar file that you could then import into like a calendar on your phone or whatever, and it would then basically show you what targets were available on which nights based on your criteria. The whole thing was a command line interface at the time, and I mentioned in the last video that I wanted to go and build a interface for it, as that was something I have been wanting to try and get into. That pretty much brings you up to date with where we are. And I've been writing a bit of code. Actually, I've been writing a lot of code. This was my first attempt at writing an interface for it, and I actually ended up writing almost 1,000 lines of code. And by the way, all this is scrapped. I'm not going to use any of this. It's still the Git repo if you want to see it and play with it for yourself, but I've decided to go in a different direction with it because let me just show you how this works right now. So I was beginning to work on creating this very classical like user interface for it, and there's a lot of stuff that's working. Like you can type in your location. I could put in like Copenhagen. Whoa, caps lock is on, great. And I could then go on and search, and it would look up the location. And by the way, some people mentioned in the last video, oh, if I'm doxing myself by showing coordinates, I'm only showing when I just type in Copenhagen, it's just going to take city center. So I'm not showing my actual address with these coordinates, it's just city center. But of course, you can be as accurate up here as you want. You can put your full address if you want to, but you don't have to. But again, it then goes out and it pulls weather data from clear outside, and I can then go and put in my target. I've been basically using M81 for testing purposes, and it does the same thing. It looks up the pretty name for it and the RAN deck, and you can now fill out like minimum observation hours, altitude ranges, moon separations, and the moon phase. So how much moon light you allowed to use. The idea was, and it's not working at the moment because, as I said, I'm not finishing this, but you could then basically put in the start and end date you want to simulate for, and then click calculate. And then the idea is that we would then put like markings in the calendar here that I've also coded. That was a bit of a headache, but and it would then put like markings in where that specific target was available and stuff like that. But again, that whole calculate part of it, I have a lot of the code for it, but it's not really integrated into this yet. I coded that about page because I don't know. Anyway, that was my original idea, but that's when I thought, you know what? Making desktop interfaces is like something we stopped really doing 10 years ago. Everything is an app nowadays. Everything is an online service nowadays. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try to go in the same direction and try to make it more accessible so people don't have to have this thing installed on their own PC. Now, this comes with some benefits and some drawbacks. But let me show you how it works now. Because as I mentioned, now it's a Discord bot. So you can see over here, we have the CC Astro Planner for Cosmic Curiosity Astro Planner. I set up a dedicated channel here on my community Discord server. Click the QR code, by the way, if you want to join, if you want to try this bot out yourself. In the Astro Planner, we now have access to two different functions. For instance, we can use the one that's just called Astro Target Window. And I get the same benefits here as I did with the other one. I could put in my location, I can put in my target, it's just continue to test with M81. And technically that's all I need to give it. I can click out here and I can give it all the extra optional inputs if I wanted to. Let's say, for instance, I say, you know what, I want a minimum of 2 hours, 120 minutes. I want a minimum altitude beyond the horizon of 30 degrees. I want the target to have a moon separation of at least 45 degrees. And I want the moon illumination on the night to be no more than 50%. Maybe those are my search criteria. Maybe I don't have a max altitude. We don't have to fill that out. That's an optional. And now I could just click enter. And now the bot begins to calculate for all the inputs you have given. It now calculates. There we go. We can now see here, we have Copenhagen, Denmark. We have Boats Galaxy. I should actually make it print the coordinates, like GPS coordinates too. Maybe. I don't know. We have the observation. This is basically all the input we gave it, and then it outputs this table where I can now see for the given target. In the next month, it's calculating forward when is the target gonna be rising, when it's gonna be not rising, when on the night are all of these criteria fulfilled. Like when is it 30 degrees above the horizon, at least 45 degrees from the moon, and there's no more than 50% moonlight. If all of that is fulfilled, then it makes this an observation, a valid night. And if I get at least 120 minutes of observation time on that night, then it puts in and says, this is a valid night, you can observe this target on this night. And then it just shows the dates in the next month. That's the basic functionality of the Astro target window, where you could just say, I'm here, I have this target, when is a window in the next month where I can observe this? The other functionality is one that I made as a little extra thing. It's called Best Tonight. And here you really only give it the location. So I give it Copenhagen again. And now it begins to search through a list of some of the most popular Astro targets. I think there's 100 and something targets in that list. And then it searches through them, and then it spits out the top nebulas, galaxies, and star clusters that is available in this time period. And again, it uses some basic filtering with altitudes and stuff like that, but it just, based on some default parameters, it then makes a guess saying, okay, of all these nebulas, which are the best in each category on this given night from your location. So if you're going to go out and you're not really sure what you want to look at, then here is a window. And again, you of course get, there's a bit of a mistake here. You can see I've messed something up here. Okay, minor issues there. There's some all these things has been shifted, as you can see, so that needs to be fixed. I'll fix that in the future version. Sorry, but as you can see, I'll get that lined up. The idea is now you get like what's the observation time, total time you get during the night. When does this observation window start? When does the observation window end for each of these targets? But yeah, those are the two functionalities. And if you are in doubt how they work, I have also made help. So if you want like the Astro target window, there's a help function you can call, and then it just gives you basic information about how the whole thing works. The biggest drawback to doing it like this is that when it was a desktop application, I didn't have to worry about compute. I do now. Luckily, I had a spare server lying around that wasn't doing anything, that actually has some decent horsepower. So I set that up, and that's running the bot right now. That means I'm bringing compute. For now, everyone using the server can use this bot as much as you like, but I might have to throttle it in the future. If there's a lot of usage on it and I begin to run out of server power, then I'm gonna have to put in some kind of priority system where maybe YouTube members, they get priority. So if you joined the channel and you become a member here on YouTube, then maybe I can do something, make sure you get priority. For now, it's just open for all, and that's basically because I want as much feedback about this. I want as much users to see if it breaks. So right now it's just free for all, but as I said, I may have to in the future to close it down depending on how much it's being used. As I really have limited compute and don't really have the resources to begin to go out and buy new servers just to run this bot. But come over by the Discord server, try this out yourself, and I would love your feedback. Like, if you have ideas for new commands I could add to it in the future, if you spot any bugs, then I would love to know it so that we can begin to figure that out and get that resolved for a future version. This is the first time I made a proper Discord bot, so bear with me, be kind. I don't usually do this type of coding, but it's fun, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. An observable target that night. And then finally down here at the bottom, you can control stuff like whether you should make those calendar files or whether you should make the images. This is a web page, and it is amazing. After I discovered it, it very quickly became my favorite site for just